ceasefire means. Ceasefire means release the hostages. Yes. All the hostages. Ceasefire means stop the bombardment now. Yes. Ceasefire means defend the innocent. Yes. Ceasefire means transcend cycles of violence. Yes. To me, in that sense, ceasefire is not just real politics, it is spiritual. We are being called to be higher than our history. Yes. We are being called to transcend the tit for tat. We are being called to transcend the sanitation of atrocity. We are being called to center human value and human dignity above all else. That is what ceasefire now means. We will not be afraid.
We grieve and we mourn the over 11,000 Palestinians, 2/3 of them women and children, who have been killed in Gaza and the West Bank by the Israeli government. We grieve and mourn the depraved, unconscionable attacks on places of refuge, including schools and health facilities and places of worship as the world watches. We grieve the babies in incubators being left there to die. And it makes me think about my own baby, my premature baby that was born at 23 weeks. I was less than 6 months pregnant, and all I wanted to do was see my baby alive. All I wanted to do was make sure that the ventilator worked. All I wanted was to make sure that the doctors saw my little black baby on Medicaid as equal to the white babies laying there with coverage that was commercial. I can't fathom what these parents are going through right now. My heart breaks as I grieve and I mourn, and as innocent people continue to be killed daily.
Ceasefire means no more hospitals bombed. Ceasefire means that no more homes are destroyed. We are now looking at the largest refugee crisis in the world. Over 1 million plus people have now been displaced. Their land is so toxic, it'll be hard to even rebuild back on that community.
Human life. There are millions of people across our country right now who are horrified watching the government support collective punishment of Palestinians while the Israeli government continues to carry war crimes by cutting off water, food, and life-saving medical care. I know I've seen the stats. I mean, the polling shows majority of Americans, over 65% of Americans, including 80% of them being Democrats, want a ceasefire. They are also horrified that our president is calling on Congress to find more bombs that are being dropped on innocent civilians. Our movement for a ceasefire is only growing stronger. I say this all the time, consistently to my colleagues.
That we are committed to use the power of our votes, the power of our presence, to make the case that in this instance, we choose life over conflict. We choose life over war. History will judge us. Yesterday, I was in Puerto Rico. We were in a conference there, 2,400 Puerto Ricans from the Puerto Rican diaspora. And some of my friends asked me, Nydia, this is a political risk that you're taking. And I said, this is not about a political decision. This is not about the next election.
That's right. That's right.
This is about who we are,
Yes.
and the values
Yes.
that bind us together.
You've heard the numbers, and I will reiterate them because every time we say it, it is meaningful. 11,000 Palestinians have been killed, over 4,300 children, babies. There are 2.2 million people in Gaza. 1.7 million of them have been displaced. Hospitals. Just yesterday, Doctors Without Borders described the dire situation in Gaza. In the midst of the bombardment on hospital grounds, people are being murdered while waiting for treatment.
Bombing, not just Gaza, but America has a history of bombing countries and people. And I was watching Ta-Nehisi Coates in an interview recently on Democracy Now, where he asked the question, are we corrupted by violence? And I think we are.
Yes.
I think Congress is corrupted by violence. I think the White House might be corrupted by violence. Because how can we allow the siege that is taking place right now in Gaza, the collective punishment on Palestinian civilians, 4,000 children and counting. I was standing there thinking about my time as a middle school principal. I was a middle school principal in the Bronx. I served 250 kids every year for 10 years. That's 2,500 kids, right? So imagine every kid that I've ever served murdered and killed 2 times over. That is what I'm standing there thinking about as I think about the children in Gaza. Children who could have been doctors, architects, engineers, teachers, members of Congress, anything they wanted to be, their lives taken away.
Actually, no, that is such a